The weather is not pleasant in Baltimore right now. The game is in question. While we wait, over to Joe on the differences between Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk as receivers.
Many catchers across Major League Baseball have adopted a newer type style of receiving pitches, and I like to use the word receiving rather than framing, because ideally you want to use quiet, subtle movements as you bring the pitch into the zone. Now, a lot of pitches at the bottom of the zone, they're critical to get for your pitcher, especially depending on the count, but any strike you can get is good. Now, any catcher wants to make sure when you're receiving pitches that if there's strikes just inside the zone that you do indeed get that call. It's a bonus when you can get the calls that are just outside the zone to be called a strike. Now, what it is that we're seeing a lot from across Major League Baseball is a lot of catchers are dropping their glove down. So they'll show the target, but the target will come down, and then they'll try to receive, especially the low pitch, on the way up. If it's on the edges, you'll see that everything's kind of rounded and circled in, funneled in to the zone. Now, it's okay if you're subtle with your movements, but you don't want to get too violent. Looking at two Blue Jays catchers, Alejandro Kirk does a lot from one knee, and he's very quiet back there, and he does a very nice job. We've really seen an improvement over a couple of years in Alejandro receiving pitches. He'll drop the glove very subtly, and then he'll catch the pitch on the way up. He'll do a good job on both sides as well. The glove will drop, and you'll see it almost on the ground, and then bring it up. Ideally, you don't want it to be such a violent move, but he's done a very nice job at funneling those pitches into the zone. Danny Jansen, a little bit more of a traditional stance, but one thing with Danny, I think they both have adopted the new style. They just execute it a little differently. And with Danny, I think a lot of times he gets caught sometimes with his target. You'll see that glove go down, but then he'll bring it up and then jab back down at that low pitch, and then bring it up to present it to the umpire. So there are like four movements going on there. And that's where I think Danny might have to make a little bit of an adjustment, because there's just too much going on. It makes it very difficult to get those calls on the borderline pitches. Now let's take a look at both of the Blue Jays catchers at work here. First, we'll take a look at Alejandro, because I think he does an excellent job. There's the target. It goes down, but he keeps it down there and pulls that changeup from Trevor Richards up. Now he knows it's a changeup. It's going to be down in the zone, so you expect it to be down there. Pull up, and he gets a nice call there just below the zone. But he's very subtle with his movements. He does everything from one knee. It just works for him, works with his body. I'm sure what's been instructed to him by his coaches. They're stripling a slider on the outside corner. But you see how soft and the movements are to get that ball funneled toward the zone. Not a whole lot of movement going on. That's ideal, because that's going to give the umpire the best look. And the quieter you can be back there, umpires will compliment you all the time that they like working behind you. It's the ultimate compliment a catcher can get. Now, Danny Jansen, a little bit different. There's the target. It goes down, it comes up, and jabs back down, and then pulls back up. So there are a lot of movements there that are unnecessary. So ideally for Danny, if he's going to use this method, drop that glove down, but keep it down there. Down, up, and there's a jab at a bottom pitch. That's a good pitch. You've got to receive that and get the call. But Danny will sometimes give up on that pitch that's at the bottom of the zone. You can see even sometimes his pitchers are kind of bewildered that they're not getting the call. But I think it's just too much going on back there at times. So be a little bit more subtle, like we saw from Alejandro there, down and up. Now, the catcher's setup is another part of the game that catchers have to be very careful of. You do not want to change your setup based on the pitch that you've called. Now, it's very good that you set up really late. You don't want to tip off location by setting up your location too early, but it's also important to not change your stance. Now, again, with Kirk, he's in one knee for the most part, so he doesn't give much away. But with Danny, we'll see sometimes his traditional stance with his legs just wider than shoulder width, showing the target usually for a fastball. But oftentimes I've noticed when he's calling an off-speed pitch, whether it's a splitter from Kikuchi or a slider from Stripling, whoever it may be, the secondary pitches, he gets really wide, and these legs are way out here, and you can see the difference. Now, again, if you set up really late, then no coaches or on-deck hitters or anybody can tip off the batter as to what the pitch may be. But there are times, on occasion, it might be too early. Let's take a look at those two styles that he uses that you got to be careful of. On the left's a fastball, more of a traditional stance. On the right's an off-speed pitch. Look how wide the legs are. So there's that fastball right there from Bass. And then on the right is Kikuchi's splitter down the zone, very wide. There go the legs. Now, again, it's a late setup. That's what I give Danny a lot of credit for. The later you set up, you're not going to tip much off. Different styles, different ways of executing those styles, but all in all, Alejandro Kirk's done an excellent job this season as a receiver behind the plate. I think Danny can do a better job, clean up some of those movements, make it a little bit more subtle and smoother to give those umpires a look and help his pitchers out. Jamie?
Great stuff, Joe. Very interesting. Now, let's see if we get to see Danny Jansen behind the plate tonight. This is not a promising scene from Oriole Park at Camden Yards. We'll continue toward, hopefully, a first pitch after this. Blue Jays Central keeping an eye on the weather. I just saw lightning. Around Oriole Park at Camden Yards, we are delayed for obvious reasons, as you can see. If this happens, we will bring it to you here on Sportsnet. For now, to the ballpark and Hazel May.
Jamie, thank you very much. What a treat. Not only do we have Raimel Tapia and translator Hector Tito Lebron, we have Santiago Espinal, starting second baseman / translator for this pregame chat. Raimel, you've come up with some big hits, some clutch hits this road trip. Tell me about your mental approach when you have men on base and you know the game's on the line.
Mentally, he goes to the plate to think he's the best. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. If the pitcher, when the pitcher's on the mound, he thinks he's better than the pitcher. He's the best player out there, and everything that he's trying to do, he's just trying to make the team, trying to do the little things so the team can win.
What a great answer. Great translation, by the way, as he gives the microphone back to Tito LeBron. Muchas gracias. He just said that's too much work for Santiago. You were in left field for the first game of this series. The dimensions of this ball club has changed. Did your positioning change or the way you played left field knowing that the wall was at least 30 feet further back?
Sí, claro que sí, porque
definitely it's not the same anymore, like comparing it to right to left. Of course, with they pushing the wall back, the position it's totally different now. Like, for example, when I'm playing right, I'm trying right field, I'm playing back. I'm playing left, so I had to stay for whatever the position says, but I had to stay there. But it's more when I'm playing right that I had to stay back.
This is the last game of a really long road trip. How do you feel about where the team is now in mid-August and in a wild card hunt? How are you feeling about the way this team has approached the Baltimore Orioles and how they've been playing during this road trip?
No, nosotros estamos bien.
We're playing good. I mean, we've been playing good baseball. I mean, it's a long season. I mean, I know we lost the last couple of games against the Orioles, but we just got to continue to keep playing hard. We'll see. It's August, like you say. It's still a long way to go, but we're playing good baseball.
Now, back in 2017, when you were with the Colorado Rockies, you guys were involved in a wild card. What are some of the characteristics of a team that can make a really good postseason run?
Bueno, cuando nosotros fuimos a playoff,
chemistry. The chemistry is the key to making a good run in the playoff. I mean, I feel like kind of comparing back in 17 with now. I mean, we do a little bit of everything. So now I feel like this team right now has a little bit of everything, maybe more. So the characteristic, it's like I say, they were very similar. But if we can put that to work and doing what we're doing right now, I think we can make the playoff and maybe have a good run in the playoff.
Okay, Raimel Tapia, keep doing what you're doing. Good luck, continued success to you, Jamie. Raimel Tapia will be the starting center fielder tonight as the Orioles and Blue Jays wrap up this 3-game series. Back to you.
Thank you, Hazel. Let's hope the game gets underway. The team offensively led by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. His hit streak now at 20. Bo Bichette with home runs 16 and 17 last night. He has 11 hits on this trip. That's Toronto's lineup. Baltimore's lineup brought to you by Bet365. They're the only team in the American League with the best winning percentage since June 11th. Only the Dodgers on the National League side have a better winning percentage since that time. Let us bring in the guys from SN Bets.
Thank you, Jamie. Pat Stuthers and Michael Mahorovich here at the SM Bets Big Board, presented by Bet365. The Jays were looking good until the weather took its toll last night. The Orioles are creeping up in the standings as Barrios gets the ball tonight to avoid the sweep.
Although Barrios gave up 2 home runs to the Orioles on June 15th, he struck out 8 batters and held the Orioles to 3 hits. Blue Jays hoping for more of the same today, maybe minus the home runs. Toronto minus 150 on the money line, an implied win probability of 60%. And this should be a good matchup for the Blue Jays. Right-handed batters are hitting .308 against Orioles starter Dean Kramer.
Sandy Alcantara is the odds-on favorite to win the NL Cy Young. He looks to stop the red-hot Phillies in their tracks. They're on a 6-game win streak and taking 11 of their last 12. But Sandy has a 1.88 ERA on the season to go with 10 wins. And before the All-Star break, he went at least 7 innings in 13 straight appearances. Pretty dominant. Phillies' run total tonight set at just 3.5.
Dominant is also how I describe Justin Verlander's 13 innings against the Texas Rangers this season. He struck out 16 batters, given up only 10 hits, and just 1 earned run. His ERA in those 13 innings is 0.69. To make matters worse for the Rangers, Texas is hitting 20 points lower than their season average this month.
Now to some teams without the same pitching luxury. The Braves starters over the past 6 games have combined for a 6.90 ERA, while Nick Pivetta for the Red Sox had a brutal July. 0 for 3 in 5 starts with an ERA just south of 10. Tonight, he'll face Kyle Wright as the Braves try to put a stop to the runs. The game total for this one is set at 9 on the dot.
Pat, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with that career-high 20-game hit streak right now. It's worth noting, 6 plate appearances against Dean Kramer, both 2 hits, both of those home runs. Jamie?
All right, gentlemen, so we will monitor the weather. The game is delayed, but for now, a huge event going on. The National Bank Open, Serena Williams on the network this evening. So let's send it to Brad Fay. Enjoy.